Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Liam Rose. I'm an author, mentor, life coach, motivational speaker, evangelist, musician, and activist. In this audio and podcast, we're going to be sharing about spiritual nature and talking about the importance of nature and how Jesus Christ and Jehovah and Buddha wants us to appreciate nature. So, spiritual nature is very important. As you can see, the world has been created by Jehovah, the God of all living creation, of all human beings, of all animals, of all creatures. So, nature is a very important thing in life. As you can see, we didn't create ourselves. The Lord God Jehovah created us and brought us into the world and made us have life and breath and blood and heart and soul and body and mind. So it's important to realize that when we honor our faith and our spirituality, we have a deeper connection to spiritual nature, and nature is all around us. When you wake up in the morning, that is nature. When you look outside your window, that is nature. When you see animals, human beings, the birds, the trees, the plants, the streets, the cars, the houses, the flats, the apartments, or anything that's been built by Jehovah, the Lord God of all creation, and that's nature. As human beings, we didn't get into earth by ourselves because our mother and father obviously had children, and that's how we were created. But when we think about spiritual nature, it's more deeper than just the physical, it's more the spiritual. So it's important to realize that we must connect with nature. That's why taking walks in parks is very important. Spending time with family and friends is very important. Spending time in prayer, meditation, and mindfulness is very important. And spending time writing about what you've learned and what nature has taught you is very important. Now, spiritual nature is everywhere. The Lord God of all creation has created nature. So you can appreciate the nature that the Lord God has created, right? And by looking into the spiritual realms and the heavenly realms, by seeing just how beautiful life is, and even if you had a negative life or challenging life or been through adversity, stresses, situations, and circumstances, can still appreciate nature and gratitude and just be thankful for what the Lord God has done for you. Now, Jehovah wants you to live your life fully, right? And by living your life fully and wholly and righteously, you'll be having a connection with spiritual nature. When you go through a spiritual change, which I always recommend in my podcast, my audios, and my books and my videos, then this connects you with spiritual nature. Spiritual nature is spiritual energy. When you have spiritual nature, you also have spiritual energy. So the spiritual change becomes a very important thing, and we need to connect with spiritual nature. When you connect with nature, you're not going to do certain things in life that other people do because you're more spiritual, more faithful. When we have spiritual nature, you find a real appreciation and gratitude and thanksgiving towards helping other people, helping the animals, and helping the universe. So we need to develop our spiritual nature inside of us because we are the lights of the world. We have the lights for humanity, the animals, and the universe, and we are the ones that can change the world for the better. So we need to find our light, find our spiritual nature, and find why we're spiritually called and been put on this earth. Each human being has the opportunity to discover spiritual nature and be a part of spiritual nature. And spiritual nature helps you to live your life more fully, it gives you freedom, gives you liberation, and makes you live your spiritual life purpose in life. So I recommend to the listeners who are listening to this audio, find your spiritual nature, find your spiritual energy, go through a process of spiritual change, which is the 5 spiritual practices: prayer, meditation, mindfulness, walking, and journaling. And then just find appreciation for life, like why you're alive and how you're living your life, and the person that you're becoming, and the things that you're achieving and learning. So just have an appreciation and let that spiritual nature guide you. And remember, spiritual nature is everywhere. You can look at anything in nature, and you can realize that the God of all creations has created this. Because spiritual nature basically means you're not responsible for your own life. Jehovah is. Jehovah has put you on earth for a reason, to do a spiritual calling and a spiritual life purpose. So you must find your spiritual nature, find your spiritual energy, find the light that's within you, and then help other people, help the animals, and help the universe. And then appreciate the nature of spiritual nature and just the way how life is. Okay, thank you for listening now. I know this was a long audio, but thank you for listening. Take care now. Bye. And I hope you find your spiritual nature. Thanks.